Hi everyone. Labour MP and centrist neoliberal Tony Blair wannabe, Chuka Umunna, he's Labour MP for Streatham, I think, has written an op-ed for The Independent. It's hilarious. I'll leave a link to it below. I'm just going to read, the first bit of it really. Here's the title. Whether you want to call it centrism or progressive politics, it's back. My head hurts when people say stupid things like that. The subtitle is, some say we live in an era where only populist politics gets through, but the numbers tell us a different story. And then hilariously, he's got a picture there. The featured picture below it is Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau with a byline that says, across the world, progressive politics is making a comeback, as in the case of Justin Trudeau's building popularity. Well, first of all, about 10% of my audience is from Canada. And right now they are all in unison, jumping up and down and screaming, he's not progressive, he's a neoliberal. They're screaming it, I can guarantee you. They hate Justin Trudeau. Why? Because he's the white Obama. They thought he was going to bring in hope and change. They thought he was a populist, and he turned out to be a neoliberal. He was a fake progressive. And it's saying there, as in the case of Justin Trudeau's building popularity. Maybe Chuka hasn't looked at the approval ratings for Justin Trudeau, because the last time I checked in September, last month I think I checked, his popularity had dropped 24 percentage points in a year because of his neoliberal centrist policies and the fact that he's giving, tax breaks and he's opening up more oil drilling and being favourable to large corporations. You get the idea. He's a neoliberal centrist, and his popularity is not building. It's dropping through the floor. But this article starts off, this first paragraph, I'm going to try and get through this first paragraph without stopping, because there's so much wrong with it, it's unreal. He says, it's fashionable to claim that progressive politics has been in decline across the Western world since the global financial crash of 2008, that progressive politicians don't know what they stand for anymore, and that parties of the far right and far left have been insurgent. Right, okay. The first sentence, it's fashionable to claim that progressive politics has been in decline across the Western world. Wrong. Progressive politics is actually on the up globally. It's increasing globally. Progressive politics is getting bigger. Populism on the left and right is getting bigger. It is neoliberalism and centrism that is going away. And then he says that progressive politicians don't know what they stand for. Okay, it's not progressive politicians that we say don't know what they stand for. It's centrists and neoliberals. There's a big difference. Big difference. And then he says that parties of the far right and the far left have been insurgent. Well, that is true. Populism is on the rise. But he's saying there it's fashionable to say it as if it's not. Populism, just look at Trump. Look at Brexit. That was populism. I'll continue. This second paragraph is just as bad as the first, he says, but just because others on the extremes may not agree with their politics, it does not mean these activists, politicians and thinkers, a group that includes me, have no politics. Stop, Gordon. It's not that we say you have no politics. You've got politics coming out of the wazoo, Chuka. It's policies you haven't got. For ours is a politics that promotes it. Just listen to this sentence. Just listen to this sentence. And this is a typical centrist neoliberal sentence, this is. It's lots of nice words in a sentence that sound great, that mean absolutely bugger all. For ours is a politics that promotes individual freedom but understands it relies on strong collective provision and an active state to be realised. If you were to poll 1,000 people randomly up and down the country and say, what do you think that sentence means? Nobody would understand it. No, the average person just wouldn't understand it. He carries on. We believe in reciprocity. I can never say that word. We believe in reaching out, which requires an inclusive economy that rewards those who work hard and play by the rules while caring for those who can't support themselves. We are advocates of a rebalancing of power between capital, labour and the consumer and righteous competition to keep the balance of power in check. Perfect neoliberal sentence paragraph. Lots of words, no policies. Nothing in there that the voter will go, yeah, I want to vote for that guy. That guy's going to do something to help me. There's nothing there. No substance to it whatsoever. He carries on. At the core of our beliefs is the value of work, yet we acknowledge there is more to life than work. Family life, in all its forms, and the importance of the place where people live are the building blocks of the communitarian ideals to which progressives subscribe. Again, he's trying to conflate progressives with neoliberals. Progressives shun neoliberals, Chuka, you buffoon. And this, I'm just going to read this little bit, and then I'll, as I say, I'll leave the link down below if you want to read it and start screaming at your screen or laughing uncontrollable. He says this: we don't wish to subvert democracy, but to enhance it by ensuring decisions are taken at the lowest level possible. At the lowest possible level. Weird, isn't it? We don't wish to subvert democracy. He doesn't like the fact that he's going to be, to use an American expression, he's now open to be primaried because of mandatory reselection. I mean, that's a democratic process. Doesn't like that, though. But he says we don't wish to subvert democracy. It's exactly what he's doing by saying no, he doesn't want mandatory reselection. Why? Because he knows that the constituents have had enough of him. And they've had enough of neoliberal politics that isn't helping them, that threw 40% of the population overboard in 1980. And as Mark Blythe says, try to nudge the lowest 40% on the economic scale into better behaviours. We are unapologetically patriotic and internationalist in orientation too. He's internationalist. Again, go and poll 1,000 average people, see what they think that internationalist means. What he means by internationalist is we believe in shipping our jobs out to other countries where we can pay them 5 grains of rice instead of a living wage over here. That's what internationalist means. And then this is the most hilarious thing in the whole article. It is true that many progressive political parties have been on the losing streak in some countries since the crisis. The centre-left administrations of Tony Blair and Gordon Brown lost power in 2010, having won 3 general elections in a row since 1997. First of all, progressive political parties have not been on a losing streak in some countries since the crisis. What he's talking about there is neoliberal centrist parties. Neoliberal centrist parties like New Labour under Tony Blair. That's not centre-left, Chuka. And this is the problem. He seems to think neoliberalism is centre-left. It's not. It's closer to centre-right than it is centre-left. It's slightly right of centre. Then he goes on in this article to give examples of Spain, of France, and of Canada, of 3 centrist neoliberal parties that are doing really well, whose leaders are doing really well. Spain, their Socialist Party, Owen Jones pointed this out yesterday on Twitter, their Socialist Party had to do a deal with the left wing to actually get into power, and the left wing have made them make so many concessions in their budget. It is thought of as the most radical left-wing party that Spain have seen for a long, long time. In France, Macron's approval ratings are plummeting through the floor. I think the last time I looked, there were 13% approval. That's the people Chuka Umunna is revering and saying he's doing a great job. And then you've got Justin Trudeau of Canada, who I have said in the past is the white Obama, and whose approval rating is going through the floor. He's, like I say, 24% in a year. This is why people like me won't join the Labour Party. Because Chuka Umunna is just one of about 100, 150 Labour MPs who are neoliberal Blairites. I'm thinking specifically people like him, people like Ruth Smeeth. CIA asset, Ruth Smeeth, by the way. Look that up. This is why we won't join the Labour Party. And the fact that they won't apologise to George Galloway for being right, for ejecting him for being right about the Iraq War. Excuse me. As I say, I'll leave a link to that article. Read it. You'll find it hilarious. He's so detached from reality. It's unreal. And remember, this is the guy who was crying to Jeremy Corbyn saying, "Oh, call off the dogs." There's another reason we don't like Chuka Umunna. Progressives don't like him and disagree with him. And that's because he supports Israel. And he doesn't stand up for Palestine and Israel's brutality against them in their apartheid regime and their seeming genocide of innocent Palestinians. He supports Israel in that. Friends of Israel. This is one of the reasons. This is why he called the Labour Party institutionally racist not long ago. This is why. Because he's not on the UK side. He's not on Labour's side. He's on Israel's side and Bibi Netanyahu's side and their far-right liquid genocide of the Palestine. That's who he supports. And this is why progressives are rejecting him. And people like me make videos making fun of him for being a neoliberal centrist Tony Blair wannabe. I've got news for Chuka Umunna. If you're not comfortable in the Labour Party, the Lib Dems might accept you. But I highly doubt that you're going to be elected as an MP the next time an election comes round. I highly doubt it. Because I think he's going to be mandatory reselected. There's going to be a vote of no confidence, mandatory reselection, and he's going to lose his seat. And somebody else who actually is a progressive is going to take it. And I can't wait for that to happen. Not just to Chuka Umunna, but to all the other Blairites in the Labour Party. Maybe if that happens and they apologise to George Galloway for his treatment, maybe people like me will join them. I hope that happens anyway. If you like this video and you want to see more, please subscribe and click the bell below so you get a notification of when I drop further videos. Independent voices like mine, I'm sure you're aware by now, are being censored across all social media platforms, so please like and comment on the videos. That really does help the channel out, and share the videos wherever you can to grow the audience. If you can, please support me on Patreon. You can do it for as little as $1 a month. I cannot do this without your help. I rely on your donations. Thanks very much for your support. It really is appreciated. Until next time, peace and take care.